Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Leadership Autopsy, where we talk authentically about all things leadership. I hope everybody's having a fabulous day. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a humorous moment in leadership. I think it's important for us as leaders sometimes because we're so stressed all the time to find humor in things that might happen on a day-to-day basis. And I'm going to share with you a very candid conversation about what happened with me on one of my international travels.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So I went to Japan. I was visiting one of our suppliers in one of my previous businesses, and it was a super clean plant. I'd come in, I was dressed, in a blouse and some slacks and flats, walking through the facility. And it was, again, the floors were super clean, very polished. I've not been to a manufacturing plant that was this clean. And I turned out of one of the manufacturing areas, and we were going down these stairs, and it had 2 flights of stairs, platform, into another set of stairs. And I started walking down these stairs, and I noticed they didn't have a handrail on the wall. And I'm like, well, this isn't really safe. So I'm trying to walk with my hand on the wall to balance myself. The next thing I know, I fall, and I'm laying there on the landing. And when I say laying on the landing, I mean my shoes had flown off my feet. And I'm laying there. My knee is banged up. I don't know what it hit when it fell, but it hit something, and it was super sore. And the plant manager just looked at me and was like, "Are you okay?" And I thought to myself, if anybody knows me, they'll know my famous words are, "No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's okay. It's okay." And so I get up on the landing, and I get my shoes on, collect myself, because I'm super embarrassed at this point. I'm very humiliated at this point. And I walked down the next flight of stairs into this landing area. And I realized, I really hurt myself, because I have a condition where if I hit certain nerves in a certain way, I will notice that it's a sensory overload or something, and I'll pass out. But I notice it because stars start to, close in on my eyes. And I started seeing this happening. So I'm not telling anybody any of this at this point. So I'm walking from the stairs to this other area, and the stars just keep closing in on me. And I see a chair sitting there, and I'm like, I think maybe let me sit down for a second. And I'm just breathing, because I'm like, please, dear Lord, please, please, please do not let me pass out on this manufacturing floor. And I was able to breathe my way through it, so that, the stars started to open back up, so I didn't pass out, thank goodness. And then I told the plant manager, okay, I think I need to go to the restroom, because I need to go to the restroom at this point. And so he said, okay, well, it's right out here outside the door, go to the right. I go outside the door, go to the right. I open up the stalls, and no joke, the stall, it had nothing but a porcelain hole in the ground. What? I mean, I'd heard about this. I'd never seen this in my life, where, you didn't have a toilet seat, but just a porcelain thing. And I've seen videos where, in Italy and some of these other Asian countries, that this happens, but I've never experienced this. So I'm I open it up, and there's a hole in the ground, and I'm my knee's throbbing. I literally cannot bend my knee. And I'm I've got to go number one. And I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I'm so embarrassed at this point that I fell in this manufacturing plant anyway, and that I am probably not doing well. My knee is throbbing. So I had my phone on me, luckily, or I say luckily, I don't know if it was lucky or not, but I called my sister in America, and I'm like, Sestra, you will not believe what's going on right now. And I explained to her the situation. She proceeds to just laugh all in my ear. And I'm like, I don't need you laughing. How am I going to go use the restroom? That was my thought. I'm like, how am I going to use this toilet? I'm like, I've never used a toilet like this in my life. And she was like, okay, let's recoup. Okay, step back. Remember those days when you were, in college or right after college, and you go to a club and you had to hold yourself up on the walls of the stall? She's like, try that and see if that works. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness. So luckily I was able to do that and get through it, because I'm thinking to myself, my knee's not bending. And there's no way I'm bending down to be able to use this hole in this ground. And if I fall on the ground, I don't know what's on the ground. I'm like, that's even worse than going to the club and, sitting on the toilet. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so luckily I was able to hold myself up with my arm strength at the time. And I got through it. And the funny thing was, the next time I went to this supplier, I visited the supplier twice. And the next time I went to the supplier, because when I came out of the restroom the first time at the first visit, the plant manager was like, is everything okay? He wanted to make sure. I mean, let me just say, the Asian culture is so, so polite. I'm like, I love the Asian culture. They're so just like accommodating. I want to take care of you. And you just feel warmth by their attention. They're so, so compassionate. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm great. I'm like, oh, but it was very unusual. I've never been to a restroom where there was just a hole in the ground. I was very honest at the time. Again, the theme of my podcast is authentically Noel. That's who I am. I'm like, I never saw a hole in the ground before. And he didn't really respond. So the next time I came back to the plant, the first thing they said when I came in was, you have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, I don't really need to use it right now. And they're like, no, we have English toilets now. And I'm like, what is an English toilet? And then they show me the bathroom. They had freaking installed a toilet where there used to be a hole in the ground. I was like, oh my gosh, it was the most funniest thing. And so I to this day, I just find so much humor in this. I'm like, because at the end of the day, I reflected on it. I'm like, Noel, I'm like, none of this would have happened if I had worn my safety shoes. And I'm like, I'm such a safety conscious person. And I always preach safety, safety, safety with my teams. Being in my background is manufacturing, and I was the previous EH&S manager, and I'm like, or director, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, how did I not bring safety shoes walking through a manufacturing plant? Because I didn't think I was going to be in the manufacturing area. But I'm like, you should have known better, Noel. You just should have known better. I'm like, these are the things that as a leader, sometimes you just slap your head and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Why did I not think forward on that? And instead of bringing my safety shoes, which I always do, normally I wear them when I'm traveling. I just wear them through security. And so I don't have to pack them in the bag. But I didn't on this particular, and I had been in Thailand, for a month when I was visiting them. So I had my safety shoes. It's just when I traveled to Japan at the time, which is where a supplier was, I just didn't bring them for whatever reason. I was like, oh, this is simple. I like to simplify things, right? Simplify. But sometimes I oversimplified and I didn't bring my safety shoes. I'm like, if you just brought your safety shoes, none of this would happen. And that's the lesson for today, people, is find humor sometimes when you go through these incidences. I was so humiliated. I was so embarrassed. And the good news that came out of it was, one, the ladies in the plant got an American toilet. And number 2 was a reminder of always bring my safety gear when I travel. So that's the takeaway for today in your field note.